आप इंग्लिश की रीडिंग स्किल के 4 बेसिक टाइप पर लेक्चर ढूंढने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं तो ये वीडियो आपके लिए बेस्ट रहेगी। इस वीडियो में स्किमिंग, स्कैनिंग, इंटेंसिव रीडिंग, एक्सटेंसिव रीडिंग बहुत ही तफसीलन बयान हुआ है। ये लेक्चर कोविड-19 के दौरान हमारे टीचर ने अपलोड की थी हमारे लिए। हमारे टीचर जो है एमफिल स्कॉलर है, तो उनसे परमिशन लेकर मैं ये अपलोड कर रहा हूँ और ये बहुत ही बेनिफिशियल लेक्चर है। इसमें आपको जो है इस 4 रीडिंग स्किल के हवाले से मुकम्मल इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगी। तो आप ये वीडियो पूरा देखिएगा और अगर आपको पसंद आए तो डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एंड कमेंट।
Now, scanning is used to find a particular piece of information. Once again, you run your eyes over the text looking for a specific piece of information that you need. And here you may not realize it, but you are actually already good at scanning. Uh, we don't have any idea. We don't even realize when we are scanning a document, but in fact, most of us are good at scanning. And this mode of reading is also known as bird's eye view. You can say that, just like a bird, when it takes flight, when it is on flight, so it constantly looks down over the earth, over the earth to look for the specific piece of thing that it needs to hunt. So that is why it is also called bird's eye view. If you see words or phrases that you do not understand, the meaning of which is not clear to you, so you should not worry about it when you are scanning. And scanning, as far as scanning is concerned, so here, according to a survey, an individual can read up to 1,500 words a minute. So you can see that in scanning, the word limit is much more than skimming that we discussed earlier. So you scan, for example, when checking a TV guide or a phone book. In newspaper, there is a section of television channels in which you try to locate that particular program, that particular talk show, for example, or a drama that you like, and you try to locate it in that section of television, which is usually given in newspaper. And you can also see that in newspapers there is a section in which weather report is given of different cities. If you want to locate the weather of, for example, for instance, Charsada, so you just look at that particular specific city of which you are concerned to know its weather. Again, looking for a specific contact, you search that particular contact in phone book, so you don't bother about other contacts. You just look for the specific contact you want to talk to. So one reason for to scan an academic text that you have found while researching is to locate key terms as a means to assess the text's relevance. Now, you might not be familiar with research work, research thesis, but as far as research thesis is concerned, so there you will have to collect data for that, for your own research. And for collecting data, you look through the text to locate certain key terms which are relevant to your topic, and you go through the whole text. If you see any key terms that you will be using in your own research topic, so this is an academic type of reading. If you are given a text, for example, a book, a research article, and you are given an assignment, so you try to locate the key terms which are relevant, which are matching to your own topic, and only then you read it by keeping in view this scanning mode of reading. Now, as I said earlier, it is not important that you should understand each and every word, each and every fact given, each and every grammatical construction that is there in the text which you are reading while you are scanning a document or a written text. So here it means, I mean to say that it does not mean that you should completely immerse yourself in the text. You do not you know, read it in depth in order to have a deep comprehension, a deep understanding of the facts, of the analysis of grammatical constructions. These are not necessary. You don't, you don't have to bother about it. You don't have to worry about understanding each and every detail that you come across. And oftentimes in this mode of reading, the text is viewed for the presence of unfamiliar words, so that after their translation, after their interpretation, it will be more easy to read the text fully. Um, you try to, you also try to look for unfamiliar words, and you translate it, you interpret it, so that you, so that it becomes more easier for you to read the text entirely. And this type of reading is also called diagonal reading. Now, examples of scanning. The What's on TV section of your newspaper. As I said earlier, you can see it in diagram as well. There is a section of BBC One, ITV, and BBC Two. And under every heading, there are different programs listed, and the time of each program has been given in front of it. So it depends on which type of program you want to watch, and you want to see which at what time it will be broadcasted on television. Then again, the second example is that of a train or airplane schedule. If you visit a train station or, for example, an airport, there is, you can say, a chart given. Nowadays, you can see that technology has become more advanced, so they have displayed it with LED lights, with small LED lights. Different times are given, schedule of different planes or trains are given, and their arrival time and their departure time is given. So you don't see, every city's, train departure or arrival time, or airplane or departure and arrival time. You just try to look for that particular time, of departure or of arrival of a train or of an airplane, where you want to go or where you want to, leave. So the third one is a conference guide. Most of the time in conferences, guides or brochures are given to participants, to visitors in a conference, where they can, in which they can locate the timing, the time of a particular speaker, of a particular participant who will talk in that conference, or who will present a research paper in that conference. Now, skimming is used to quickly find, gather the most important information or gist. You go through the text quickly in order to look for the most important information, and that too in the form of the central idea, of the text. You run your eyes over the text, noting the most important information you are looking for. And skimming is used to quickly get up to speed on a current business situation. Business situation here means any type of official, situation that you are coming across, where you are given a written text, a kind of letter, for example, a report, a survey, or any type of written document that is given to you in order to read it. So there you will have to take this thing in mind. You have to consider this thing that you have to very quickly go through that official document in order to comprehend it, to understand it. And here it's also important to note that you should not bother about understanding each and every word that you are coming across while you are skimming. Now, skimming is that mode of reading which allows you to read up to 1,000 words a minute. It is that type of reading which in which approximately almost every individual who is good at reading can read almost 1,000 words a minute. So you can imagine that skimming is the fastest reading that you do in order to derive meaning out of the text, and that it also helps us develop or identify whether or not to continue. It helps you determine whether you should continue reading that particular document which is handed over to you, or you want to stop it. You don't want to read it. So this skimming mode of reading also helps you in identifying whether you should continue reading that document or you should not read it. uh, and it also helps you in knowing what to read carefully and where the best place is to begin with in the text. And in an academic text, skimming helps you immediately in understanding before you read. It carefully, can help you and consider what you already know, and it can also help you develop the purpose for reading. So uh, there are two things that are important to consider while you are skimming. The first is, as it is, you can see that it is underlined here. Uh, it helps you to consider what you already know. You try to match the text that you are reading with your existing knowledge, and you see whether you know anything about it already or not. And it also helps you define the purpose of your reading. You also develop a purpose of your reading in this mode of reading. You come to know whether this text that you are reading is of any purpose to you or not, and for what purpose actually this document is written. So uh, an initial skim can also help maximize your interest in the text and your understanding and reflection on the material. It also, you can say, helps you, assists you in maximizing, increasing your interest in the text. Uh, it depends on whether the text you are reading is of your interest to you or not. If it is interesting, you keep on reading it. And if it is not interesting, you don't read it any further. And you also, it also helps you in understanding and reflection on the material. You try to understand what you are reading, and you think over it, whether it is relevant to you or not. Now, examples of skimming. Well, as you can see, there are three different examples of skimming given here. The first one is reading the newspaper, skimming the newspaper. You try to quickly go through the general news of the day, and for that purpose, you go through each and every, headline, the bulletins that are given, headlines, शायद सुर्खियां जिसे हम कहते हैं उर्दू में, वो you read that in order to get the general news of the day, to know about what is going around in your district, within the country, across the country, or you can say in the whole world. So you get this type of information from reading the headlines. And the second is magazines, reading magazines, skimming magazines, looking through the chapters of a magazine you quickly discover which articles you would like to read in more detail. So you just go through the contents, the chapters, different chapters, which are, you can say, given in the contents section of the magazine, and you see which article is of your interest and you would like to read it in more detail. So the third one is business and travel brochures. Uh, Here again, you quickly try to get yourself informed by skimming business and travel brochures. Now, what do we skim while we read? As with scanning, which is the second mode of reading, skimming does not involve reading each and every word. Instead, you may skim by reading titles, subheadings, words that are in bold, in italics, or which are underlined, and then diagrams, a report's abstract, the summary that is given at the beginning of a report, which is also called abstract, introduction, which is another section of the report, or conclusion. These are different sections, abstract, introduction, and conclusion. These are different sections of a report, of an essay, or of an article, of a research article, for example. Um, then you also, skim the first sentence of each and every paragraph that you read, then chapter questions, chapter objectives, chapter summaries. So these are the different sections, different elements of a written text that you skim in order to get the meaning out of it. Well, now comes the third mode, or the third type of reading, which is extensive reading. Extensive reading is, a bit different from the earlier two modes, the earlier two types of readings. Extensive reading is used to obtain a general understanding of a subject, of a topic, and it includes reading longer texts. And we usually read extensively for pleasure. Uh, you know, uh, Business books are also, extensively read. So here, this word reading for pleasure is important, because extensive reading requires a lot of time. Um, Sometimes you get tired of reading while doing extensive reading, so you skip it. You pause it for a certain period of time. For example, you start reading a novel and you read a chapter, you get tired of it, and you resume reading the other day, the next day. So it is extensive reading. It is also called reading for pleasure. So uh, this type of reading is mostly done for the purpose of pleasure, reading stories, reading novels, reading poetry, reading any work of any book of business, for example, is also considered as extensive reading. And here again, I would remind you that it is not important to understand each and every word. The main purpose of extensive reading is to get the overall or a general understanding of what you are reading. So you should not worry about understanding each and every word. Now we're coming towards the fourth type, which is intensive reading. Intensive reading is used on shorter texts. And before we proceed towards intensive reading, or what intensive reading is, let me tell you something about this term intensive. Intensive means careful, something where in which extreme care is required. So this reading requires, intensive reading requires, you can say, extreme care. It is careful reading. So intensive reading is used on shorter texts. Here, the text is very short, and it is not, you can say, very lengthy, and it is used on, you can say, shorter text in order to extract specific information. It includes very close, accurate reading for detail. You have to understand each and every word, each and every sentence, and each and every point that is given in, in shorter text that you are reading, only to understand it completely. So use intensive reading skills to grasp the details of a specific situation. In this case, it is important that you should understand each and every word, each and every number given in that text, and each and every fact that is given in that text. Because if you skip, any word, if you skip, for example, a number or a fact, you will be at loss in understanding the entire text. So you should be very much careful about reading such type of documents that require intensive reading. Now, typically, this type of reading is used in the study of English in order to intensively parse the proposed short teaching text. You try to, you can say, divide or split each and every word, each and every sentence, each and every phrase, uh, each and every clause, in order to have an in-depth understanding of what you read. So, for example, you want to understand uh, different parts of speech, for example, in English. So a paragraph is, for example, suppose a paragraph is given to you. So, and you are asked to locate or to identify different parts of speech used in that paragraph. So you will have to read it very carefully, uh, in a very, you can say, very careful manner, so as to identify different parts of speech, their functions in the sentence, and you will also have to see what are the different clauses used in it, what are different phrases used in it. So it requires intensive effort to split an English sentence, a paragraph, into different parts of speech. With this type of reading, grammatical constructions, unfamiliar words and phrases are deeply and carefully examined and analyzed. Now, what are different examples of intensive reading? Uh, the first example is that of a bookkeeping report. There are different, reports. Different bookkeeping reports are written by clerical staff, by the administration staff, and in that detail is given about each and every book. And the second example is an insurance claim. There are insurance companies. People usually buy insurance for themselves, and they have their own policies. Like State Life is an insurance company, EFU is an insurance company. They have their own policy. So if you want to buy an insurance for yourself, you should try to read their claim in detail. You should try to read the policy that they have in detail, so that you may not have any problem in future. And The third example is that of a contract. Sometimes when you are, doing a bargain, for example, with someone, so you have to sign a contract. So before signing a contract, or before buying an insurance claim, it is important that you should read each and every clause in it, which is mostly written in very minute font and very little size font. So try to understand each and every clause, each and every phrase that is given in an insurance claim or in a contract before signing it. Because if you show negligence in reading it, um, carelessly, so you may have a problem in the future. So this is all about intensive reading. Now let us recap this whole lecture. Uh, as I said earlier, reading is an ability of an individual to read, to understand, and to interpret the written words on a piece of paper. Then we discussed about four different modes or four different types of reading. The first one was skimming, which means reading rapidly for the main points. And the second one was scanning, which means reading rapidly through a text to find specific information which is required by you. And the third one is extensive reading, which means reading longer texts, often for pleasure and for an overall understanding. And the fourth one, which is the last one, is intensive reading. And intensive reading, is used for reading shorter texts or detailed information with an emphasis on precise understanding, or for accurate understanding, we do intensive reading. So this is all about reading skills, and I hope you will have enjoyed this online class. And inshallah, in the next class, we will discuss the next topic about which I'll be sharing with you very soon, inshallah. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.